Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Please consider subscribing to our channel. Click the notification bell to allow YouTube to notify you. Please give this video likes and help us share our videos. To all our supporters and our subscribers, allow me to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, for some time now, the Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembea has been on rampage. He has developed an onslaught against Western leaders and specifically Wetangula. And Natembea says that the leadership of the Western leaders has failed them. And he claims that there is nothing to show for it. They usually get power and positions just for themselves. Power that they do not spread out to help others. And Natembea believes that it is time for change, and the wind of change is blowing, and he believes he's part of that wind. He has maintained that in the next meeting where leaders shall gather to talk about the future of the nation, he must be there representing the Mulembe nation. Now, part of his speech that has gone viral is one that was attacking William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, because it seems that Natembea is a sword that is cutting across. Sometimes he says Raila has tried for some times. Now that the forces of darkness have ganged up against him, maybe it is time he tries someone else. But for Western, Natembea says he has to grab it. They are not going to beg anyone. So I want us to listen to Natembea challenging William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. In essence, he's telling them that it is high time they consider supporting another tribe, because they say Kikuyus and Kalenjins have tasted the trappings of power in the most coveted house, State House, and they say it is high time they just decide that they're not going to produce a presidential candidate to allow others to lead the nation. Take a look.
Tangu tupate uhuru, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta alikuwa president wa Kenya miaka 15. Ninyi mnajua namna hiyo? Alikufia kwa ofisi. Mwai Kibaki marehemu akakuwa president miaka 10, si ndio? Yeye akakuwa 25. Uhuru Kenyatta akakuwa president miaka 10, ikakuwa 35. Jamii ya Kikuyu wamesema hiyo imewatosha. Hawataki mambo ya ulafi, hiyo imewatosha. Jamii wa Kalenjin Mzee Moi aligonga 24. Hiyo record hata tukizi miaka mingapi haitawahi kunjwa. 24. Mheshimiwa Ruto hako saa hizi ndio? Mungu akimjalia aenda yake 10 atakuwa amegonga miaka 34 wa Kalenjin. Jamii mbili imegonga miaka 69 kama rais wa Kenya.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the first time leaders are engaging on a discussion surrounding tribal politics and who should take over. There are two things that sometimes are being used when political temperatures get high. I've had two kinds of debates. Number one is the debate surrounding tribe, and people have said that Moi ruled for 24 years. Now Ruto has been a deputy president for 2 terms, and then he added with another 1 term of 5 years as a president. I don't know whether he will get another chance to go for the second term, and that will be 10 as a deputy, 10 as a president. And they say that this is quite unfair in a country where we have over 40 tribes. And they say that the founding father of the nation was a Kikuyu, Jomo Kenyatta, and then the fourth president was also a Kikuyu, and of course the third president. And they say that maybe it is high time other tribes are tried and tested. And Natembea is trying to persuade William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. The other discussion that I've had is about age. Many a times when the political temperatures went high and Raila was becoming a thorn in the flesh to the successive governments, they tried to bring in age factor, and they wanted to scare Raila. That if at all some people are going to say that maybe Kikuyus and Kalenjins have led the nation, and so we want to pass laws that will limit tribes that have led us, then we are also going to pass a law that limits the age. And you know, the problem that we have as a country is that we are making laws and changing our constitution targeting individuals. And such constitutions and laws cannot stand the test of time. Because believe you me, Raila will come and go. But we have to make a constitution and laws that will serve the generations to come. Look at William Ruto, who recently was campaigning using dynasty. And now he himself is a dynasty because if any of his children will want to contest in the near future, then it will be argued that they have also tested the trappings of power and therefore they fit the definition of a dynasty. And so he's going to change even the mode of his campaigns. He will no longer, the narrative of the hustlers and the dynasty will no longer sell because he is now a deep state, he is now a dynasty. But then I wanted to submit to you that the problem that we have in our country is not how many tribes have been there, how many leaders from which tribe. The problem that we've had as far as our elections are concerned is that we do not have someone at the IEBC, the chairman of the IEBC, who can stand firm and give Kenyans what they have voted for. If you look at the successive elections, it is being argued by many experts that the only election that was conducted in a free, honest, and verifiable manner was the election in 2002, when there was this wind of change and it was a kind of revolution. People were tired of Kano, and then the opposition were forced to unite together. That is the only election. But many still argue that at the age of Moi just decided he didn't want to bring fracas in the country. He still had the powers, he was still controlling the deep state, he was still controlling the military, that if he wanted, he would have tried to cling to power, and that would have plunged our country into chaos. The other election that was a little bit free, but then the powers that be decided to rig in broad daylight was in 20 that was 2007, and you all understand what happened. And so the problem has never been which tribe. We should allow all tribes to contest as long as the elections are free and fair, as long as the bodies and the people who are manning those elections decide that they are going to ensure that the will of the people is not subverted. Because the issue of tribe, if we try to bring in the issue of tribe, we already play tribal politics. And if we start pinpointing, about tribes, it might not help so much. How I wish that we should even change our laws and we get someone. Before Maraga nullified elections, no one ever believed that elections could be nullified. I'm imagining that Chebukati, if Chebukati had, stood firm, if Chebukati had stood firm and just decided that against all odds, I will announce who the people have announced. I know there have been that argument that some people wanted to subvert the will of the people, but I believe it was the opposite. That is why you mention anything to do with the server, and the Kenya Kwanza Brigade will come with a barrage of attacks. Samuel Kivuitu is an epitome of a manager who died while regretting what he did during the elections. At some point, he was telling us that someone is cooking figures. That is in 2007. Later, he was asked, Do you really believe that Kibaki won? And he told us, I don't know. That is a manager who conducted an election where some people died, some people were displaced. I mean, and then he says, I don't know. So mine is to believe that we only need to tighten our laws so that we follow them. It has been argued that Kenya has one of the best constitutions, but the implementation has been the problem. The other thing that we need to do is to stand firm against external interference, because US and the UK will always come and they give us someone that they can work with, not someone that we will work with. And in as much that as they pretend that they uphold democracy in Africa, there is nothing like democracy. They determine who to become our president through their ambassadors and everything. And if at all they have labeled someone as a communist, someone like Raila Amolo Odinga, it becomes very difficult. Why not for US? I believe Raila would have been the president a long time ago. And so those two factors, if you ask me, have always been the problem: the external machination and lacking someone to stand firm and announce the winner. You remember what happened in 2017 when some people realized that the election was going to be tight, rigging it was not going to be very easy because Musando went for just one interview. And when he explained how he was going to man the election, some people just decided no, and they cleared him. And so if Natembea, and I believe Natembea is a young man who wants to ensure that he's on the table, which is very good, but he needs to ensure that the factors that I'm talking about are taken care of. And this, what caught my attention is the fact that after Raila and William Ruto, the leaders who are there are going to get into problems with the younger generation, because I'm assuming that today people like Murkomen and Ndindi Nyoro and Sakaja are just quiet because of William Samoei Ruto. The moment William Ruto will be out, Kenya Kwanza will be up for grabs, and they are not going to allow anyone. And I'm looking at the Azimio too, people like Babu Owino, Sifuna, Wambua, those young members of parliament and both in the Senate and at the National Assembly. The moment Raila will be out and shall have taken some kind of sabbatical leave or just to become a patron, it is going to be very difficult for anyone within the ODM or Azimio to start controlling those young targets. And so this should be a warning to Rigathi Gachagua, because for William Ruto, the only stumbling block is whether Kenyans will elect him. But in the Kenya Kwanza, they've agreed he's the presidential candidate, and anyone who wants to contest will come in 2032. So for him, there's no problem. But after 2027, let me just say, after 2030, that will be 2032, you are going to see these young men and women scrambling and grabbing power. Like Babu Wino puts it, he does not even want it to be seamless. He wants it to be chaotic. I think we're just saying that to show that he wants to grab it. And one more thing is that power just comes naturally. It is like a spirit. You can never force it. There will be very many people will be struggling here to try and inherit Ruto's backyard, Raila's backyard, Kalonzo. But with the time, people will just identify one. So this, if you ask me, is just a tip of an iceberg of some young men who believe that it is time to take over leadership, because many are looking at those leaders who have been there and sometimes they feel that they have done nothing. But then it is easier said when you are not there. Once you have been given the mantle, you realize that it's not as easy as you think. What is your take on this argument about tribe and those who have been there? Should there be a deliberate effort to ensure that those tribes that have produced presidents step aside? That is exactly what is happening at the AU chairman commission where Raila is contesting. They adopted a policy that it is time for East Africa, the rotation kind of, so that it falls within East Africa. Should we do that? Because I know the moment we bring up that argument, then there will be argument about gender. Women can just decide and say that we've never had a female president, and therefore maybe this is time for the masculine gender to just step aside and allow women. There are very many things that will come. Another argument that will be there, if this is adopted, then the Kalenjin nation and the Kikuyu nation will say that we were operating under an old constitution, the old constitution. So if you adopt this today, then we begin with you afresh. And you will hear lawyers saying there's a lacuna and all that. But then my position is we just need to tighten our belt and ensure that the laws that govern elections are obeyed, and that those who mismanage our elections are punished, not giving them, I don't know, the elder of golden heart, rewarding them not only in the country but abroad, as they, because Chebukati has been walking around lecturing people on election, and I wonder what kind of lecture he's giving. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Natembea, and he believes that maybe after William Ruto, we should never allow as a country a Kalenjin or a Kikuyu to lead. What is your take?